Hey guys, this is a bit of a quicker video. It just kind of popped in my head that maybe I should post this and share some of the knowledge that I've learned over the years. Um, so, dealing with toxic people or toxic situations. So, I've had my fair share of situations that you'll be in, maybe be at a job or a group of people you know or whatever, or just individuals that don't like you, and people who feel trapped. Now, I have worked hard to get myself out of those situations and gotten out of those situations entirely in a lot of cases. And the more you try and isolate yourself from it, the more you almost run into it even more. And then you're like, okay, well, I'm going to get out of this situation and force it so I don't have to deal with this ever again. But the reality is, something I've come to learn is when something triggers you or when something happens negative in your life, and, of course, toxic people is just one example. It could be anything. But when that happens, you actually need more of it, not less. And why is that? Because you need to learn the lesson. What is it that's triggering you about these people? Now, obviously, it's one thing if they're like physically attacking you or they're bullying you or they're trying to like ruin your life or get you fired from your job or, that's a whole nother level. And, you can defend yourself. We have aggression and, whatever. Lead with love and peace first, try everything you can. But sometimes you do have to defend yourself. But no, I'm talking about general toxic situations, somebody who just, has it out for you or whatever the case may be. As a kid, everything you take super seriously. Everything that somebody says that doesn't go, perfectly in line with, your ego or whatever, you take it offensively. And sometimes it is intended exactly how you think it is. And it's malicious. But you know what? Two things I've learned. Number one is the overwhelming majority of what you think are big problems that people are doing 100% on purpose because they don't like you. I mean, I'm talking about 70, 80, 90%, just depends on who and where, is over exaggerated in your own mind, all the way to just completely wrong. It's just incorrect because a lot of people have different personalities and they process things differently and they talk differently and they have different ways of making eye contact, different body language, different inflections, whatever. So one thing that I've learned, number one, never assume that there's a problem until it is overwhelmingly, blisteringly obvious that there's a problem. Even if you have to go up and ask the person, never assume. Number two, if there is a problem, try and diffuse it with peace. I know you've heard that a million times, but it's almost a fake it till you make it situation. Because you have to heal whatever it is inside of you that is being triggered by this person. Because if whatever they're doing isn't really threatening you, they're not putting you in physical danger, they're not going to get you fired from your job, they're not going to, if it's just maybe standoffish, apprehensive, you're doing this a lot, whatever, why are you triggered by that? They're no threat to you. Really think about what I'm about to say. This is probably the most important point of the video, actually. This, and also, don't assume that people have a problem until you really, really know. Why is it that it triggers you? Is it because some part of you believes that they're looking down on you? Okay. Are they looking down on you? Why does that matter? If you don't think you deserve to be looked down on, then why would that matter? Are they jealous of you? Okay. Why does that trigger you? Why does that bother you? Are they trying to get something that you have and they're trying to, piss you off so you leave and get out of the picture or whatever? I don't know. They're trying to steal your girl, man. I don't know, And this goes for women, of course, too. It's the exact same thing. It doesn't really matter your gender. The point is, and psychology says the same thing, right? The overwhelming majority of the time, if you feel very triggered by somebody or a situation, it is because you feel insecure somehow, some way. Somebody looks at you a certain type of way. Oh, it's because you think you're ugly. But then you get mad at them, so you project it out on them, even if that's exactly what they're doing. But I mean, I swear, 9 out of 10 times it's not even close. 99 out of 100 times, that's not even what's going on. They could be looking for any reason. You have no idea. And of course, and these aren't even necessarily the specific examples that I've dealt with. These are just the kind of things that happen. I've definitely had my times where somebody will, they'll look at you a wrong way, and you're just in your head. You're like, as an insecure kid, especially, in your head, you're like, you secretly feel like you deserve it, like you're lesser or whatever the case may be. But the difference is you have to get over that. You have to heal that part of yourself. Now, There's two ways of healing it. Number one, you have to realize your own value, your own worth, realize whether it is from a place of jealousy, insecurity from the other person, or you know what? Let's say you stepped on a grenade and your face is all messed up and you do look kind of crazy, whatever the case may be, then just make peace with whatever it is that you don't like about yourself. Fix what you can fix. And if you don't like something, make peace with it. Because at the end of the day, it seems completely impossible when you're in that kind of a situation, and I'm a relatively young guy, but, I've been through a lot of things. And I could tell you, even just at my age, and be about 30 years old soon, I can tell you, it feels when you're young, it's so unbelievably difficult to even imagine a time where you're going to get through life where you're really not going to be bothered by this stuff anymore. You're not going to be bothered at all, or very minimum to where it's not that big of a deal, just a little bit of an annoyance at worst. But trust me, you can get there. Heal whatever it is that needs healing. Figure out whatever it is. Be honest with yourself. You have to be honest. That's the first thing. You know what they say about alcoholics? The first thing is to admit you have a problem. I've not had that problem. Just an example. But the first thing is you have to admit it to yourself. What is it that's triggering you? Do you have some insecurity from your childhood? Do you have something that makes you feel that way? Because I promise you, it is absolutely achievable. Because I was like the hardest person to convince that this was possible. I just thought life was going to be all the time you're insecure and miserable and irritable and whatever the case may be. But you have to just heal that part of yourself and remember God, remember love, lead with love where possible. More times than not, you're going to get that positive energy back, but you're not always going to get it back. And it's real easy to be a loving person and shine your light and be kind and all that when you're getting it receptive back to you, when everybody's matching that energy, when you're uplifting people and they like you. But it's a whole nother thing if you're not getting that energy back. If they think you're full of crap or whatever the case may be, they don't like your, oh, you're so full of yourself, or, oh, look at, whatever the case may be, persist anyway. And until you really have to literally defend yourself and from an actual proper threatening situation of some kind, always just lead with that and separate yourself from those people as much as you can, Don't come down to their level, don't whatever. Because it's also bad, not only for them, but it's bad for your own soul. Because it bogs you down and it gets you caught up in this nonsense, and it's so easy to happen. So for anybody out there that's in a toxic job or a toxic relationship, or you have toxic friends or anything like that, 2 or 3 pieces of advice. Number one, first and foremost, figure out, and I would, even before you try and get out of this situation, figure out what it is that's triggering you and immerse yourself in it even more if you have to. Figure out that balance so that you can heal it, because it doesn't happen immediately. The moment you identify it, it doesn't just the next day you feel great. I mean, it could take days, weeks, months, or even years for some people. It depends how deep-seated and powerful that this insecurity is. But identify it and really work on it. And this takes a lot of alone time. Also talk to somebody you care about, whatever. But it really does take a lot of alone time in a lot of cases, in my experience, where you just have to think and heal slowly but surely. And then something crazy happens. All of a sudden, you're faced with the same people in the same situations. And the universe does this on purpose, by the way. You're here to learn, by the way. If you get out of that situation with these toxic people, guess what's going to end up happening in the next year or two? You're going to run into the exact same situation again. Swap the faces out for new people, but the exact same situation, and it's going to trigger you again. So work on it and heal. But then all of a sudden, this crazy thing happens when you get faced with it again. Oh, it doesn't quite bother you as much anymore. And it may take weeks or months, whatever, but it doesn't quite bother you as much anymore. And the moment you realize that, it's almost like a positive kick in the butt to keep moving forward. You're like, wait a minute, okay, there's hope. There's a little bit of progress here. There's actually hope. And you keep moving forward, and then before you know it, it either doesn't trigger you at all or it barely does, like a mosquito bite. It's just a minor thing. It's not that big of a deal. And then all of a sudden you realize, wow, I've actually healed. Look how far I've come. And then oftentimes the universe will actually throw a situation in there, maybe 1 or 2 more times, and then it'll never happen again. It's almost crazy. Like, it never happens again, just to test you and show you how far you've come. But in my experience, after you really learn a lesson, it just never happens again. It just doesn't. Maybe some mild version of it that just happens just by coincidence or seeming coincidence. And then you're just like, wow, look how far I've come. And, but it's nothing. It's nothing. And it's not even a mosquito bite anymore. It's nothing, And this is true for all lessons, not just toxic people or relationships or jobs or whatever. But yeah, so one piece of advice, absolutely be honest with yourself, no matter how bad it may be. Be honest with yourself. Fix what you can fix. Make peace with what you can't fix. Once we all die and we all ascend, we all go to a better place, you can fix whatever you don't like about yourself and you'll be perfect. We're not here to be perfect. No one's going to be perfect. We're all going to get old. It's all going to just learn and lead with love. That's the most important thing. The second piece of advice, also extremely important, try and get out of that situation as well. Work on yourself, but also, even when you're healed, don't purposely put yourself in a toxic situation. You should be healing yourself, but also trying to get out of the situation at the same time. Earlier I said immerse yourself in it while you're still in it. Immerse yourself in the sense of, if you try and just shove it all down and artificially avoid the situation, you're not going to heal. So as you're working on getting out of it, work on healing. And depending on the person, the situation, maybe, as you're like, let's say you have a lease with somebody for another 9 months before the lease is up, just making up an example, and you're going to have to be there for 9 months. You can't afford to break the lease, let's say. While you're there, view it as like spiritual college. Just deal with it. Deal with the stress, but don't deal with it because you're just shoving your emotions down. Really deal with it and actively heal what it is that needs healing. So, try and get out of the situation. And the third thing, and this is probably going to be the hardest one. This is probably going to be the hardest one. And it doesn't sound like it on paper, but it's probably the hardest one is talk to the person, or the people and explain the situation. This is how I feel, oh, it's so hard to do that, right? So hard to do that. Oh no, skip this part of the video. I'm not going to do that. But because more times than not, even if somebody is truly, because the majority of the time they're not doing what you think they're doing, but even the ones that are, who just don't like you, they don't necessarily realize how bad of an effect that they're having. They don't necessarily realize how bad it can be, right? So do that. That's mistakes. I didn't do these things when I was young, and that could have probably accelerated my own healing rate, right? But everybody has their path for their own reason. And this being said, I haven't, I know a lot of people who have had things way worse than I am. The majority of the problems that I had in my childhood and throughout life, and of course still as a person that's always growing, are just over exaggerated. And I've had to learn that, like, over exaggerated in my own mind, because they're really not as bad as I thought they were. People weren't doing what I thought they were doing most of the time, all those things. But sometimes they were. And then you have to heal from that. And then you move past it to where it doesn't get to you anymore, And when you lead with love, you start to get that energy back. And then it also gives you sort of like a protective barrier that makes that stuff not affect you as much anymore. So yeah, in summary, for people dealing with toxic situations, figure out truly what it is that is triggering you. Because I promise you, unless they are literally threatening you physically, financially, or something like that, like they are making it a threat to your well-being or your physical safety, outside of something like that, why is it triggering you? If they have no power over you, it's just words or a look or whatever. Why? I promise you it's something insecure about yourself. Do you think you're fat? Do you think you're too skinny? Do you think you're too tall? Do you think you're too short? Do you think do you think you have a weird shoulder? Do you think your eyebrows are weird? Like, I don't know, whatever it is, figure it out. And fix what you can fix if you want to, and make peace with what you can make peace with. Because at the end of the day, people have no actual power over you whatsoever with their words and whatever. It's only what you give them, what you allow them to do to you. So, yeah, that's the first thing to summarize. And the second thing is it really seems impossible. Like you're just never going to get to a place in life where things get better and you find peace, but it does. And when you make the effort, and I hope that the advice that I'm giving, if anybody watches this, that you're able to learn the things that I didn't know when I was younger, because that probably would have accelerated things a lot for me if I really took advice like this to heart. It seems like you'll never get better, but work on it, and I promise you it'll get better. It'll always get better, but you have to be honest with yourself. That's the hardest part. But yeah, as hard as it seems, and it could take years, man, but it'll always get there. And and things get a lot better. And then all of a sudden you realize, you look back, this too shall pass, right? All of a sudden you look back 10 years ago, you're like, I just couldn't possibly believe I'd ever be where I am right now. And then the rest of your life usually gets better after that as well. Better friendships, better relationships, more money, more peace of mind, all these different things. And a closer relationship, most importantly, with God, which is our highest form, our highest self, our highest, the source consciousness, what have you, that we all come from. And that love is never gone. You're never truly alone. You're never truly without love and all those things. You're always being watched after by your guardian angels and whoever else. So But yeah, anyway, it's a quicker video today, so hope that helps. Good luck, guys.